Hi there, everybody. Megghan Thompson with Megghan Thompson Coaching, and we have our teen expert and director of coaching here, Autumn Brennan. Welcome, Autumn.
Hello. Thanks, Megghan.
All right. Thanks for joining us for the second part of our two-part series on consistency, parenting highly sensitive children and teens stuck in the meltdown cycle, and the challenges that you can have when both parents in a two-parent pair are not consistent, or two households, etc. Right? So what we're going to be focusing on is the challenges that you need to be paying attention to, as well as what you need to shift to break out of this cycle today. Here at MTC, we help parents of highly sensitive kids and teens break out of the meltdown, shutdown, refusal cycle in as little as 8 weeks. We've been doing that for years. We've helped over 500 families break out of this pattern, and we're super excited to talk about this, especially related to adolescents, teenagers. Autumn is our expert adolescent coach here, and she helps in both programs where we serve, and directs the coach team all together with us here. So I say helps like you're a little helper. You run the show.
Well, at this point, I am helping because the coach team that we have running is just fantastic. They're absolutely fabulous. I'm very lucky, right? In that the team that we have put together is just full of experts that have been working in the field for, I mean, if we put us all together, it's like 50 years of experience. That's amazing, right? To just have the team together, in both programs too, right? Because we've got the teen program and we've got the child program. So that's fantastic.
Right. Sure. So in working directly with teens and adults in our teen program, and all of the work we've done for years and years prior to fully focusing on coaching, right, as therapists in different avenues and different settings, residential treatment centers, outpatient care, therapeutic camp work, right, respite support. Just to name a few of your private practice, a few of your dabblings in your career here. One of the things that we see so often in this dynamic of parenting teens is partly developmental, right? Teenagers need to manage an increased need for independence. And it's also true that they can't be in charge just yet of their entire lives, right? So let's talk about the challenges that teens stuck in the shutdown, refusal, and sometimes meltdown cycle really struggle with, Autumn, when we see this dynamic happening in the home for highly sensitive teenagers.
Yeah. So when we think about, the needs of a highly sensitive teenager, one of those needs is, to be able to express their emotion in a way that's not going to damage their relationships, right? Being able to understand the emotions that they're having, and then being able to convey those emotions or communicate them to other people, or to resolve them independently, or with the support of somebody else. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the goal. Let's have friends. Let's have family members. Let's keep it together. Right. And be able to function. And what we notice is that the need of your highly sensitive teenager is going to also butt up against the needs, the developmental needs of anyone that's going to be this age. And one of those needs is to increase their independence, right? To be able to go out and to start to explore the world on their own, be doing a little experimentation, notice what kind of friend groups or peer groups that they're attracted to. And what we notice is that that's a really difficult thing to do when you're also trying to battle your internal state. Right. So I want to make more friends. I want to make more decisions on my own. And I don't actually have the skill set that I need to be able to do those things because these emotions keep getting in the way. And I don't have the skill set that I need to manage those emotions. So it's kind of really sets your teen up for an even more confusing adolescence, which I think that any, adult watching this can say, adolescence is a little confusing, right? For everybody involved.
Right. Just a little.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? And so, here you have this teen that is going through this confusing time anyways, with more expectations being put on them while simultaneously noticing, hey, these deficits that I have in skills to control my emotions, they're actually becoming even more of a problem than they were when I was growing up as a child, because now my developmental needs at this stage of my life are really calling on me to use a skill set I don't have.
Right.
This leads to a lot of frustration being a parent, right? So I'm just talking about the teens' experience, and they don't, they don't know what's going on. But imagine being on the outside trying to help that.
Right. And when we think about a teenager who's comparing themselves to their peers, who is trying to, like Autumn was talking about, experiment with identity, right? Like, how many of you went to the whatever version of Hot Topic was when we were growing up, right?
Claire's,
Spencer's, Claire's, right? American Eagle. I mean, some of those brands are still around, but the identity, the presentation of their image, all of that experimentation, in addition to peer relationships. How do you talk to somebody? What are you going to prioritize? And then also related to responsibilities, experimentation with procrastination, with follow through, with follow through with authority, with responding with sarcasm to authority, with responding to yes ma'am, yes sir, keep it tight, people pleasing responses, or respectful responses. And a teenager is trying to figure out their way, right? How do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to function? How do I want to relate to adults and my friends and my peers, right? Classmates, as well as out in the community. And all of that for a highly sensitive teen has a multitude of options that is exponentially larger than for a non-highly sensitive teen in the highly sensitive teen's mind, right? So do I want to show up like this kind of person, like that kind of person? And then the highly sensitive teen is thinking and running through scenarios like the Matrix. Like, if I act like this, what will she think? And when she thinks like that, then what will she do about it, right? So there's an intricate amount of processing. Highly sensitive teens to process deeply, detail-oriented, taking in more information from the world and thinking about more information about the world, right? And so when we think about the amount of time that a highly sensitive teen can be spending inside their own head, that part is expected for a highly sensitive teen. Now, a highly sensitive teen who doesn't have emotion regulation skills, that component can really lead to isolation. It can really lead to reactivity, irritability to the nth degree. Parents will describe parenting a teenager stuck in the cycle as riding a roller coaster, having a Jekyll and Hyde situation. You don't know where your kid went, right? Knock, knock, knock. Are you in there at all, right? Whereas parents of a non-highly sensitive child, not necessarily stuck in this cycle, is going to see more days than not where they can recognize their teen's personality and some things that they're trying out. And then they're going to have moodiness that is developmentally appropriate. Okay. So what we're talking about is it can be, misconstrued as bipolar disorder, right? I mean, right. Going to that high level of cycling through identities and moods, parents can be like, who are you? What happened, right? Meltdowns, you used to quote unquote throw a fit when you were younger, and now I don't even know who you are. Like, what just happened, right? It can feel like you're just smacked in the face with it. And so when we think about being able to parent a teen in this level of need, we've talked about this before related to children often, but the same patterns show up. You can move into swinging the pendulum of extremes. We either need to hunker down and control and, do as I say, right when I say it, all the way to, well, you can't handle anything because you cry about everything and you shut down. So maybe I should just do it all for you and enable, right? And so we have coddling going on for a teenager. And so when parents are swinging from one side to the next, you have a teenager who is going to start driving soon, right? Or might be saying, I can't handle driving. And you're like, okay, that's fine, because you lose your ish, twice a week. So I don't want you doing that behind the wheel. Let's just not even talk about it till you're 18, right? Meanwhile, you're carting them around and you just signed yourself up for 2 more years of doing that when you were hoping that you wouldn't have to navigate that between your 16-year-old, your 14-year-old, and your 11-year-old, right? When we have, for example, the oldest one who's highly sensitive stuck in this dynamic. So it's frustrating for parents, right? Frustrating, exhausting, tiring. And there's a lot of confusion. Do I, set limits here? Do I kind of, pick up the pieces, and limp my teen along through, adolescence? Do I ride it out? Right. So, we have this wedge, with teenagers stuck in this pattern and family members stuck in this pattern, because you guys know it's a family dynamic issue. This is not a teen problem. You can't solve it by just focusing on the teen and building skills with the teen. It's a family dynamic problem, okay? Everybody in the family contributes. Everybody in the family needs to make shifts. And so when you look at that, it has to come from the top, right? If you're trying to change your whole family, you are the parents, you need to lead. So when we look at being able to do this with inconsistencies, with parents who are running, 2 parents who are running the same household or who are parenting across households, we really want to be paying attention to how you're setting limits and what you're doing to support each other in that dynamic. Okay. So Autumn, let's talk about what parents typically try in this dynamic and where do they get tripped up with this level of consistency and trying to choose a path or choose an approach when teens are stuck in the room and refusing to follow through on expectations, et cetera.
So it's funny because when you were talking, I'm sitting here in my head and I'm going, yes, that's exactly what's happening.
I hear this all the time.
Right. Well, it's interesting with the question that you ask, what do I see parents try? And the answer is everything. Mm-hmm. Right. The answer really is, we try everything. And that sometimes can be part of the problem, mm-hmm. because, when you're in the thick of it and you're feeling helpless and you're feeling lost and you're feeling concerned about your teenager and your teenager is, maybe receding more and more into their bedroom. I am seeing them less and less. And when I do see them, it's a word vomit opportunity. And then if somebody's left cleaning up the mess, you do start to really try everything. And that, mm-hmm. Thinking about everything that you were saying, as far as how many of these new expectations are being put onto the teenager and on the parent, it just increases that confusion that the teenager is experiencing in that moment. Right. And so it might be that you try one approach on Tuesday, right? Yeah. I'm going to come in and I'm really doing my best. I have slept, it's only Tuesday. I'm feeling good about this day. And I'm going to come in with all of my compassionate heart. And I'm going to say, I know you're having a hard day and I'm going to do everything for you. Yeah. And on the one hand, that might seem like it's helpful, but at the same time, it really isn't so helpful, because what is happening there is you're jumping in and you're doing everything for your teen to help them get up and go and maybe to continue to function on that day. But we really didn't just help them to learn how to solve this problem long term. Instead, what we really just reinforced was, you have somebody else that's going to come in and solve your problems for you. Right. Right. And the reality is that's not what parents want. Right. Of a teenager, especially, you were just talking about that driving. I don't want to be carting you around for 2 more years. I want
Yeah.
you to start to solve some of these more adult or more complex problems that are coming into your life because you're becoming older and because this is part of that growing up, that experimenting, right? Like meeting these new expectations that are developmentally appropriate for you. And so on Tuesday, that sounds like a great plan. Here's the problem. On Saturday, when I am burnt and I did not get the best night's sleep, and I have been really trying to help you out. Maybe towards the end of the week, I kind of just stopped talking to you when we were just, passing ships, if we were passing at all. And then on Saturday, when you have that meltdown because you are here and not at school, I'm going to try my other tactic, which is, you know what? You figure it out.
Yeah.
Going the extreme in the other direction. Also not helpful. Because again, we haven't actually taught them to solve their problems. Instead, we've just tried throwing things at it and seeing what happens.
Yeah. Showing them how to solve the problem, trying to solve it with them rather than building skills. And this is important, right? So as children, you're telling them what to do, right? And as babies, we're solving the problem for them. As babies, our babies train us quite well because our babies are helpless. We need to change their diaper. We need to feed them. We need to spoon feed them, right? And, I talk about this with our clients a lot. There's really 4 reasons why your baby is crying, right? So it's a heck of a lot easier to solve. Do you need a changed diaper? Do you need to go to sleep? Do you need snuggles? Do you need food, right? Maybe there's one more, but roll with me here. I have a 5-month-old right now, so maybe there's one more.
Right.
I figured it out. Right? What was it?
I said that seems right.
That seems right. Yeah, we're pretty good at it, right? So at this point, your baby's got you trained pretty well because you need to be caring for your baby, and that's all your baby can do is cry and to tell you that something's up. They need something, right? And so where parents get stuck is as they start to try to support highly sensitive children growing up, it's like, oh, okay, what's wrong? What's going on here? Is it this or is it that? Is it this or is it that? So instead of asking the baby, because the baby can't talk, then they just start managing the child, right? Fix it mode. All right, let me pick it out. Okay, let me reassure you. You're worried. Let me tell you it's going to be fine, right? Let me show you that you're thinking about the worst case scenario. Let me help you notice there are plenty of other opportunities. Or let me tell you, you know what, bud, you don't need to worry about that. We'll deal with it when we can. Dismiss it, right? Or try to change the subject, distraction, etc. And so maybe you made it out of the meltdown cycle in the sense that you're still here, your kid's still in your house, and you're moving through. But now comes the point where you're asking your teenager to solve the problem that they're not even telling you about, right? You're not monitoring their social media to the point where you know whether or not they have a Finsta or some other platform that they could be on and who they're talking to on the internet that could be playing into the social dynamic. And so you don't know that Sally dumped Johnny because she thinks that you like Johnny and you flirted with her, right? Flirted with him, and your teen flirted with him, and then they're worried about their friendship with Sally, and also they kind of like Johnny and they don't know if it's time to make that known to Johnny, right? All of that is literally not something that you can see as a parent, and totally normal teen exploration, peer relationships. But for your teen, all you see is irritability. All you see is hemming and hawing, wondering whether or not school is something that they can tolerate today. Can they even get out of bed, right? And so Saturday rolls around, and what are they doing? They're sleeping until noon, and you got to go somewhere. Are you going to bring them with you because they've been refusing to go to school all day, and now it's Saturday, and you don't want to perpetuate all week, and then it's Saturday, and you don't want to perpetuate the pattern of letting them sleep in so that they, Monday becomes a terrible experience? Or are you going to, just say, look, man, you got to get going. Let's roll. Right. I'll see you later, but I expect you to have, everything taken care of in your room laundry done, and feed yourself. And I'll be back. I got to take your sibling to soccer tournament. And so when we think about this dynamic of, I've helped you handle this for the last 5 days. I've helped you take responsibility. I've helped you move out of the frustration by, giving you task after task after task after task, and then finally getting you to school. And now here we have Saturday, and you're like, dude, it's Saturday. Like, I need a break. Right? We move into suck it up parenting. And so this can be relevant if you're a single parent. This can be relevant if you are in a 2-parent household or 2-parent relationship, co-parenting here, where one parent can be passive, doing all the things, right? Enabling, coddling. And then the other parent can be suck it up, or you guys waffle. You just pass the baton between this dynamic, right? It's less typical that parents go all or nothing themselves in how they work with the teen, because you love your baby. You're trying to help them, right? This is not because you are, full of resentment all the time. Notice what I just said there. Right? There's energy in some parts of the week. And to work with your teen, to have conversations and to try to pull the stress out of them. But in this dynamic, we have teens who are holding up and we're wedging isolation, right? And this is where the biggest challenge becomes, because when you're solving problems for them half the time, or, bear with me with my proportions here, and then asking them to solve it all by themselves the other half of the time, teenager decides, subconsciously, automatically getting the message, you can't handle it until it's absolutely dire, and then you're expected to do it all on your own. When you're put in that position, what would you want to do?
Nothing.
Right?
Sit at the bottom of the hole and just sit there, because eventually somebody's going to come around and take care of the hole for you.
Where's my blankie? I'm out.
Right.
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 Procrastinate, hide, sleep, binge watch whatever show is hot right now, no thanks. No thanks. And so then we get this assumption for teenagers stuck in this pattern. What's the assumption, Autumn? What do we usually jump to?
So what the assumption is that the teen's the problem, right? The teen is broken. There's something wrong with them. They're never going to be able to be an adult, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, of course, that's not true. They're going to be an adult whether or not you decide that they're ready to be.
Yeah. Are they going to live in your basement though? We've got a question here. Right.
And so it comes, that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to noticing, how do I help to move away from that managing a child, telling a child the things that they need to do in order to give them the opportunity to grow in the areas that they need to grow. How do I move from that to now helping my teenager with the new experiences that they have access to that they didn't as a child? How do I help them to start to use some of these skills that they've gained at a lower level? How do I help them to use those skills in a different way? How do I help them to, really start to begin to understand how to run their own life and to feel a greater sense of self-worth, because they are the ones that are becoming decisive. They are the ones that are creating their own future. Right. Yeah. It's so cool when you see a teenager that's, shows up and says, hey, I went and I applied for this job and guess what? I got it. Right. Like they have this huge smile on their face. There's a lot of skill sets that are required to be able to do that. And one of those skill sets is not handing the application or, sending them these days, right? It's sending the link to your mom to say, I need you to fill this out.
Right.
Right. Or laying on the bed, and every time somebody asks you in your household about the job, oh, did you apply? Or, oh, have you been looking? And you immediately shut down, or worse, there goes the word vomit again, all over your victim, right? Just because I need to escape that, right? That's they're not going to be able to get to this place of happiness, to get to this place of building their self-worth, unless they have the skill set, or unless they have somebody that is acting as their personal consultant. Right. Think about, us as, we're coaches, so we're pretty used to it. But, most people in their lives have other people around them that they work with, that they, seek support from in order to learn a new skill set, in order to continue to propel themselves forward in a way that's meaningful for them and that creates a sense of joy and happiness in their life. The parent for a teenager is that person.
Yeah.
And that means that as the support person the person that's helping someone to develop skill sets, vacillating between, I'm just going to do it for you, and you should probably go figure that out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay that person money.
That is not a good coach.
Right.
Now, let me treat you as fragile. You don't know how to solve this. Oh, you're really mad at me. Okay. Let me not hold you accountable for it. Let me not help you reach your goals. Oh, all right. You want to talk to me later about it? Okay, sure. Let me slink away. Bye. See you later. No, the consultant is like, look, you want to go here. This is what you need to do. I'm here to help you. We're going to stay in this room. We're going to figure it out. We're going to handle the panic. We're going to handle the frustration. Right. But I'm not going to let you off the hook because that's what you said you wanted. This is the conversation we're having. And so, yeah, your teen is paying you in relationship dollars, not necessarily real cash money, right? But they're invested in that relationship, right? And no child, no teen was put on this earth to be miserable. It is miserable to feel disconnected to your parents. That's a miserable life. And so when your teen is looking for a relationship with you and they're looking to figure out how their investment is playing out and where they're struggling, you need to also look at how you're leading your teen in that dynamic. And so, Autumn, you nailed it. The focus for parenting a highly sensitive teen has to shift from manager to consultant. And that's the biggest gap that we need to support you in noticing. And closing, because if you don't feel like you can consult because you're not sure how to ask the right questions, you're not sure how to, quote unquote, diagnose the problem with your teen, or even figure out how to get your teen to talk to you about the problems in the first place, then now's the time to seek support. Lead with examples, lead by example. I mean, you need to be able to support yourself in understanding what assumptions you're making about your teen. You need to understand the frustrations that you're having and what you're doing to enable those frustrations and perpetuate those frustrations, how you're inconsistent in a two-parent household, if that's relevant, and work at the same page, even if you're not working on the same pace. And all of that has to be focused on abolishing all or nothing thinking. You either got it figured out or you'll never figure it out, right? That's the guaranteed way to have what are they, Gen Z now? Gen Z are in your basement, right? We used to be talking about millennials in your basement. There's plenty of millennials still in their parents' basements. This is the reason, right? This is the reason. Okay. So participation trophies, everything's fine. We're all going to figure this out, right? And then what happens? You can't handle negative feedback. You can't handle having a boss telling you what to do. And so when things don't go well, I'm out. I quit. I'm at peace out. See, sayonara. Or I'm not even going to try to get started. So we've got learned helplessness, lack of flexibility, and no skill to manage and build and foster resiliency, right? And so we see some of this happening in Gen Z. And I'm not here to say, oh, in my day, we put up with crappy bosses. I'm not asking you to do that and to teach your teen to do that either, because you are the first example of what your teen should put up with in relationships, in intimate relationships, and building those boundaries, right? You are the relationship model. And if you're struggling with figuring out how to be the parent that you want to be, then now's the time to seek guidance with that, right? So if you want your teen seeking guidance, then you need to lead with that foot forward. We are happy to support you with that. See if we're a good fit to work together. Book a call with us, megganthompsoncoaching.com/teen talk. Okay. We work with teens and parents together in the work that we do. And so that means that we will talk to your teen. We will help you take their word at face value. understand that they're motivated if they are, and then also support you to support them in staying consistent. Okay. Like I said, if we're going to figure out why you're struggling, what your challenges are, what your goals are as a family, and what your teens' goals are for their relationship with you and their relationship with themselves. And if what we do here at MTC is going to help you guys close that gap, we'll tell you exactly how that works on that same phone call so you can get started right away, because we know when a teen is motivated, you got to strike when the iron's hot, right? So same thing goes for you. Get started right on that same phone call. If what we do is not a fit, it is not our specialty for your family's needs, then we will point you in that direction instead. Okay. And acknowledge everybody's needs and make sure that we're only working with people that we know how to help. Again, MegghanThompsonCoaching.com/teen talk. Thanks, Autumn, for calling it tight today. And we look forward to speaking with you guys soon and catch you on the next show.